Hey everyone, this is Jono from Veracity with another video in my video series. This one continuing the analyzing your data topic, specifically in this case, the in and or, using in and or in our analytics platform. So we get a lot of questions about how do I do an or, and what do I mean by that? So let's say you wanted to say, show me all the completions that people have, the number of completions for course A or course B or course C. So any of those three courses, not other ones, but any of those three. So by default, the where filters, if you were to just go into the analytics platform and you're building a bar chart and you would add a where object ID is course A, and then add another filter where object ID is course B, and add another filter where object ID is course 3. What would happen is those would be ANDed together. To be true, all of those would have to be true. And since there is no object ID that contains 3 IDs somehow, you wouldn't get any results back. So we often get a question about how do I do something like that? How do I OR things together instead of ANDing them together? And our answer is this in operator. Basically, you still do a where clause, but you say where the value is in some set, some array of information. So in our last example, where the object.id is in, and then a list of IDs. And in that case, they're ORed together. If any of those things are true, it's counted. A slight variation to this, we can also say where the value is in some population, and that subpopulation is sort of a subquery where we're able to attach additional where clauses and do some pretty interesting stuff. So I'm going to show you both of these in an example. Let's pop into the LRS. In the same LRS I've been using as part of the analytics part of this series, I'll put some links in the description so that you can come back later and check out some of those other videos. There's some pretty good information that might help kind of set up this one if the things I'm talking about don't make sense. On the left, I'm going to go into the analytics platform as usual. I'm going to go under custom dashboards and I'm going to click demo 1. And I'm going to move it to all time because I know the data in here is getting a little stale. It's old sample data. All right, great. So left a little bit of room here at the top. I'm going to put this into edit mode and I'm going to go ahead and add a widget. In this case, I'm going to add a chart. And the first thing I want to do is, let's give it a name. So these are number of comments. So these are people who are commenting based on lessons in the course. This was unclear, or hey, this was good. If your course gives you a way to comment, we collect some of that information in the system. In this case, though, this is for Python, statistical inference, and the capstone. So now I know our title says that, but in truth, what we're really just looking at now is all of the data in the system. So the first thing we want to do is just look for comments. So the way that's represented in our current system is via a commented verb. So I'm going to say where records match a particular verb ID is equal to, and then there's a commented verb. Okay, so now what we're looking at is the top 10, let's go, I don't know, let's go up to 20. Top 20 people who commented essentially on something in the system. But in this case, it's not these 3 lessons. It's not the Python lesson, the statistical inference lesson, or the capstone lesson. This is just everything. So we want to add another where clause. Now, if we were to just do what we've done in my previous videos and say where the object ID, not object type, object ID equals, and I were to paste the value in here and then add another where clause, as I said in the introduction to this, you get no results back because there is no single statement that matches several object IDs because, again, they're ANDed together. So what we want to do is say in, and it's going to just give us this list builder. Now I've grabbed a couple IDs ahead of time for those lessons. Let's go ahead and paste them in. First one is this Python lesson. Second one is this statistical inference lesson. And the third one is this data science capstone lesson? Okay, great. So now we're looking at all the people who commented, the number of comments per every actor, where the object ID is either this Python course or these other two courses. So let's go ahead and add that and take a look at it. All right, great. So looking good here. So far, so good. I'm going to do kind of two slight variations on this relatively quickly. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this because we're going to start with something pretty similar. And I'm going to drag it down here. I'm going to open it up in edit mode, and I'm just going to change this a little bit. This isn't for 3 lessons anymore. This is going to be for all lessons in machine learning, which is a course. Okay. So in order to do this, we still want the commented verb, but this whole kind of in clause, this where object ID is in these 3 things, this is no good anymore. So I'm going to remove it. So now we're just back to top 20 people who've commented and how many times they've commented. So let's add another where clause. And just like last time, we only want to do it for certain lessons. So those lessons, we identify them by the object ID. And in this case, instead of saying in, we're going to say is in the population, okay? One thing I want to note here, you'll see from data collection, this can be really powerful. If you have saved data to the document endpoints or other places that's not a statement in xAPI, maybe an advanced topic I'll talk about some other day in this series, you can actually use this to kind of join up data and filter based on metadata that's stored in the agent profile, for example. For this example, I just want to switch it back to statements. I'm going to just query also on statements. No problem with that. It'll work fine. All right, so what I'm saying here is where the object ID is in the population, well, it's got to be, in this case, my object ID. So that's the thing I want to compare, object ID to object ID from statements. But where? Okay, so what I actually want to do here is I want to say where the context activities, parent, ID, where there is a parent context activity that has a particular ID, and I'm going to grab the machine learning course and paste that in there. Okay, great. So what we're actually seeing here is count the actors' comments, do a bar for each actor, and count the amount of times that they have commented, where the object ID, the thing that they're interacting with, is in the population of IDs where the parent context activity is the machine learning course. I know because of the structure of this example that the machine learning ID that I have here is a course and it has lessons in it. So there are lessons that have this thing as a parent. So this works out well. I can add it. And here we go. We have the folks that commented. For all lessons in machine learning. Let's do one more slight variation before we wrap it up, because also really powerful, and this starts to give you all the great Boolean logic combinations that you could possibly want. I'm just going to take this one into edit mode again, and I'm going to put a very important word here for all lessons not in machine learning. So now let's say we want to know where people commented, but I don't want to count comments on anything that was a machine learning course lesson, but I want to know everything else. Really simple. Where my object ID is not in the population. So everything that's not in this list, include that. And now I'll okay that, and you'll see my list is much bigger now because before I was narrowing it to a very narrow set, and now I have just eliminated a very narrow set of information. So yeah, a lot of questions on how you do ORs. It is possible the query builder using in and the in population or not in population operators are super powerful. So I would take a look at it. If you have any of these use cases, let us know. Let us know how it's working for you. We'd be interested in that as well. So if you like these videos, please click the like and or subscribe. And thanks for watching and have a good one.